Hi, I'm Mark Bansner, President of Legendary Arms Works. We are producing a production rifle in Reinholds, Pennsylvania at present. Recently, we've received a lot of questions on how to properly set up and shoot one of these lightweight rifles. I've been doing this for over 30 years now. I've developed bench techniques that will help you keep the rifle shooting small groups. The techniques that I'm going to show you today revolve around sitting at the bench, setting the rifle up on the proper rests, the position of the rifle on the rests, and then the technique that I use to hold the rifle while sighting in. All right, today we're shooting one of our professional models in 6.5 Creedmoor. It's a light caliber, very accurate, and very easy to shoot. I'm going to show you how I position myself, meaning my body, at the bench. Very critical. If you are twisted or contorted in any way, shape, or form, it's going to show on the target. So you want to be relaxed, you want to be seated comfortably, and in line with the rifle. This particular bench, some guys I see sit here straddling it. It's much more comfortable if you put both legs inside and put the rifle right in front of your shoulder. You want everything lined up. So I'm seated comfortably, both feet on the ground as a base. I have my chest against the bench, and I position the rifle rests accordingly. I don't want to strain my body anytime during sight-in or shooting the rifle. All right, setting the rifle on something that gives you a very stable base is important. Again, I've been doing this for 30 years plus. I've been shooting for over 45 years. I've seen everything you could possibly imagine at the rifle range, from shooters trying to sight in or zero a rifle. Sandbags are by far the best way to set up a rifle and shoot off of. They're stable, they're sturdy, and steady. They take vibrations out of the rifle, and what we're trying to do when we sight in is we're trying to give that rifle every opportunity it has to shoot well by eliminating the number one problem with most rifles, and that's the shooter, not the rifle. They end up setting up improperly, sitting in an uncomfortable position, and then trying to get this rifle to shoot to its potential. You need to give the rifle every opportunity by setting it on sandbags, using a front bag that's substantial in size. The pedestals are great, and I've used them for years. I've switched to this bull's bag because it cradles the rifle and makes it real steady to shoot off of. As long as you position the rifle on the bag and your front bag is at least right in front of the rear guard screw, which is this area right here. You want to place the bag right here. You don't want to place it out here on the fore-end tip, or worse yet, on the barrel, which I've seen done at the rifle range. Anytime you touch this barrel with a rest, a bag, a block, it's going to change the point of impact. So if you sight in sitting on a block of wood on the barrel, when you go into the field to shoot, it's not going to shoot to the same spot. So you want to place your bag just ahead of this rear guard screw area. Then the rear bag is positioned under the rifle butt, and this also keeps the rifle very steady when you're zeroing in. It takes the human factor out of it, some of it. You still have to hold on to the rifle and pull the trigger. All right, the next step is how you actually hold the rifle when you're setting up to zero the rifle. Again, you want a comfortable seated position. You want the rifle and the bag situated so that they're pointing right at the target. You don't want to have to force the rifle onto the paper that you're shooting at. So I line everything up. I get the target centered in the scope. Critical features when you're shooting a rifle off the bench are your grip pressure and your shoulder pressure. I typically will grab the rifle with these three fingers on my hand around the pistol grip. I will lay my thumb right here as position on the pistol grip. I keep my trigger finger out of the trigger until I'm zeroed in on the target. I will utilize my left hand to move the rifle up and down as far as elevation goes on the target. Once I have the rifle situated where I want it, I have a medium grip on the rifle. I'm not trying to squeeze it in half. I just don't want it to get away from me. Anytime you're straining and pushing the rifle around with your body, it's going to show on the target. So you want the rifle to sit steady, pull it straight back into your shoulder with those 3 fingers, and right at the last minute when I get set up, I actually push my shoulder into the stock to give it some resistance. If you don't give the rifle resistance with your shoulder, it's going to print wildly on the target. All right, we're going to shoot a 3-shot group with this 6.5 Creedmoor. I'm going to show you the techniques that I use, and then I'm going to demonstrate another technique that I use for lighter weight rifles. If your rifle with scope weighs less than 7.5 pounds, the second technique I'm going to show you will help you keep the groups in a smaller size target. The other thing that I recommend when you're setting up is what you're going to shoot at. If you shoot at a pie plate, you're probably going to shoot pie plate size groups. What I recommend is shooting at like a 1/2 inch or a 1 inch dot or a small cross on the paper. There's a phrase out there that says aim small, miss small, and you can take that to the bank. If you're aiming at a big target, most likely you're going to shoot a big group. So I'm going to shoot a 3-shot group with this 6.5 Creedmoor with my heavy rifle technique, and then I'll show you my lightweight rifle technique. So here we go. Again, grab the pistol grip with your 3 fingers. Keep your thumb on the pistol grip. When you grab your thumb over like this, you have a tendency to twist the rifle. So keep your right thumb up on the top of the pistol grip. Pull the rifle back in with your fingers, then push in with your shoulder. All right, this next 3-shot group, we're going to fire with my lightweight rifle shooting technique. One of the things that happens, obviously, is the lighter the rifle, the more it recoils. Now, this particular rifle is equipped with a muzzle brake, so the jump is not near as severe as it would be without the muzzle brake. However, when you're shooting off the bench and a lightweight rifle is involved, keeping it under control is important. The last 3-shot group I shot with my left hand controlling my rear bag. This time, I'm going to put my left hand on top of the scope to control the vertical climb of the rifle under recoil. It is a tremendous improvement in targets and group size when you control the rifle with this pressure. So here goes. You don't want to put your hand out on the objective lens. If you put it right over top of the front ring and just put a little downward pressure, you're not trying to crush it, you're just trying to keep it so that it's not going to fly out of the bag and cause vertical climbing of the group. I use the same technique, 3 fingers, pulling the rifle back, shoulder pressure, and then a little downward pressure with my wrist. I typically shoot 3 shots while seated in the same position. I know a lot of people want to let the rifle barrel cool down in between shots. That's fine if you have that kind of time. However, in a hunting situation, you're not going to have the time to let the barrel cool down. So I like to find out what my rifle is going to do with 3 shots, not necessarily in rapid succession, but the tempo that I just demonstrated. it gives you a better feel of how that rifle is going to perform in the field. So shoot 3 shots seated in the same position. It'll give you consistency throughout your technique. And that's the #1 biggest factor involved in shooting tight groups. You need to have consistency at the bench, your setup, your squeeze, your pressure on the buttstock, and the down pressure on the scope. It takes a little while to get the hang of that last technique, but it definitely goes a long way in getting tighter groups and proving that that rifle is capable of shooting accurately. All right, one of the things I want to just go through here quickly are some of the don'ts that are not going to give you the best opportunity to see what your rifle is capable of. I know that at every rifle range I've ever been to, there's always a stack of 2x4s, 4x4s, 2x6s laying around. Some guys even build their own little gizmos out of wood. Not the greatest setup. Obviously, when you looked at the sandbag setup I used, compared to that, this is really Bush League. So one of the things that really happen is most of the time this stuff's rocking. It doesn't have a good padded surface. I've added this rubber pad just to keep and protect the rifle. But I've seen guys down here put their rifle right on the wood. They're going to scratch things. I care about my equipment, so I want to take care of it. A couple of the other items that are on the bench right now, there are just unbelievable amounts of different devices to shoot off of. The lead sled has become very, very popular in that it takes a lot of the recoil out of the rifle when you shoot it. Now, I have some minor problems with the lead sled. The lead sled itself weighs 10 pounds. So if you would add 10 pounds to the weight of your rifle, you're going to reduce the recoil by about 40% anyway. By adding weight to it, it ends up reducing the recoil even farther. But if you've ever taken a physics class, you know that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. You cannot get rid of that. When you load the lead sled up with lots of weight, that energy's still there. It's transmitted into the scope rings, the scope itself, and also the stock. So it's damaging equipment. The more weight you add, the worse it gets. So use the lead sled. If you do use it empty. It's still going to cut down on a recoil, and it'll save you from having scope issues, mount issues, and stock issues. There are multiple sandbags available on the market, and I mean there's just countless different types that are available. All of them work. You just need to experiment with them to get the best results when you're at the range. One of the key things in getting good results is get a good front rest, but you also need a rear bag. I see countless guys trying to sight in, and yes, you can do it like this, but you have to be a pretty accomplished rifle shooter to pull it off. So get a rear bag, some kind of rest underneath the back of the rifle to keep it steady. I really discourage the blocks of wood. The sandbags are by far the best way to go. All right, I hope that some of these tips will help you get the best out of your rifle. Remember, all of these things have been tried over and over again. I've been doing this for 30 years. Some of the techniques work extremely well. So if you use them, practice them, it won't happen the very first time. You're going to have to practice it, learn how to use it, learn how to do it. But remember, a good solid rest, good position at the bench, and then consistency in everything you do will bring the best out of you and your rifle. So this is Mark Bansner for Legendary Arms Works. Remember to live legendary.